Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is James, and I will be the keeper for today's session of Call of Cthulhu, 7th edition. This is our second episode in our playthrough of Loki's Gift, which is one of the 3 scenarios contained in the Cults of Cthulhu book, along with various other exciting things like mechanics on developing your own cult and a wealth of information about the mysterious organizations that worship Cthulhu himself. So you can pick up Cults of Cthulhu from chaosium.com now, and you can pick it up in hardcover, which is also very, very exciting. But today we're going to be continuing with one of the sessions specifically, and I will now throw to the wonderful cast and get them to introduce themselves and their characters. First of all, let's start with Art.
Hi, I'm Art, and I am playing Lord Ashley Burbage, as in Lord of Bothwell. So Lord Bothwell, you can refer to me as Lord Bothwell or your lordship, or that's pretty much it, really. Lord Bothwell is a great fan and patron of the arts. He's an affable fellow. As I said last time, his personality is affability and money. That's him in a nutshell. It's Lord Grantham from Downton Abbey meets bombastic David Attenborough. That's where we sit. That's what we got.
It's an excellent character to have. I will say very quickly, Your Lordship, that you have witnessed a couple of very odd things in the artistic community of London recently. Have any of the things you've seen shaken your faith or appreciation in all things artistic, or do you still hold true to the values you just spoke so strongly of?
My good man, have you met artists? They're an extremely bizarre bunch. Oddity is the nature of the game. If they weren't odd, I'd be concerned.
Completely fair. So this is all par for the course then.
Yes. Have you met artists? We're
Great.
all a bit weird.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, let's go across to Jackson.
Hey, I'm Jackson, and I'm playing Lucas Mooresville, a name that James came up with for me, so because I was too lazy. Lucas Mooresville is, of course, that beardy northern professor who has stumbled into a knowledge of all things occult quite by accident and is not fond of any of it and is here to put all of this nonsense to bed.
Absolutely fair enough. I'm just glad that Lucas Mooresville didn't have Chaz Dedrick's accent, which would have been pretty funny.
Anyway, bring it back. Don't tempt me.
I'm sure you could. Anyway, let's go across to Dave.
G'day. I'm Dave, and I'm playing Colin Fenton, local destitute actor struggling for work and one bad day from sleeping on the streets.
Although you did get a couple of bucks last session, so you were at least, you've got that one day. Otherwise, you literally would be on.
This campaign's been a great success. We did get paid slightly up front. Now I'm just hoping we can find the killer, make an extra $1 or $2, and get out of here with our sanity intact.
And you got to meet your idol as well, your theatrical idol.
I did. It's actually been a massive win. And as Lord Bothwell's pointed out, artists being odd is not necessarily a downside. So a little shaken sanity and some new fun manias will be taken to the stage, where I will turn them for profit.
Call of Cthulhu, where everything turns out well. Now, of course, joining us for this episode is Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I will be playing Elias Thackeray, who is the butler to the family in question. Practically raised the boy, actually, if you were to ask, although he would never admit that, because obviously the family are excellent parents and take wonderful care of the boy. He has been hanging out with some unsavory types lately, however, which I do not approve of, but again, certainly not my place to say. However, I will find out why this happened and punish those responsible accordingly. And I don't know why I have to work with this group of people, but the master said they're useful, so...
Hell hath no fury like Elias. Perfect. Okay, so if you're just joining us this episode, the story so far, to recap, is that our collection of investigators, apart from Elias, are a pre-established group of people who are called on throughout London when there is a matter that is a little too delicate or embarrassing or specifically too occult for people to dive into wholeheartedly and investigate. So they're known to each other and they have some experience with the mythos, enough to have been called upon by Lord Richard Gladstone. Lord Richard Gladstone's son, Charles Gladstone, recently took his own life after becoming involved with a mysterious set of circumstances surrounding a play and some sinister activity and possibly, criminal activity. So our investigators have been looking into things where they have discovered that Charles Gladstone was composing the music for a play called Loki's Gift, which is being put on by Ernest Chillingsworth, who the investigators visited. He appeared quite strange, and one of the artists at his home, a young woman named Ruth, confessed to the investigators that he was up to no good and was plotting something terrible. We left the scenario last time as our investigators stepped out of Chillingworth's home and then split off into the foggy London night to rest before gathering the next day, where they have two leads to follow up on: the Pacific Club, which is a social club of some sort that apparently Charles Gladstone was part of, and also Daniel Ridley, which is the composer who took over after Charles Gladstone stopped working on the music for Loki's Gift. We're not going to talk about any of that for the moment. We are going to swing back across to the Gladstone estate, where we are going to join Elias Thackeray as he comes back into the home. Can you give us a physical description of Elias, Alex?
Elias is tall but not remarkably so, thin but not remarkably so, impeccably dressed at all times, and very pleasant in that kind of distant professional pleasantness way, where it is not a personality trait, clearly. It is a job attribute.
I have a very clear image, I think, of him in my head, but I'd like to ask you, is there any minor detail, any single thing that is remarkable about Elias that sets him apart, or is it just remarkable that he, in fact, has nothing? He is just that perfectly neutral.
He's remarkable in that when he is in the manor, when he is in the home, he is almost indistinguishable from a piece of furniture.
A great trait for a butler. Fantastic. Okay, so you have over the last couple of days been preparing and tidying up everything after the death of Charles. It's a very emotionally charged thing, and Lord Richard Gladstone is not able to deal with it. So it has fallen to you to go through a lot of the administrative responsibilities, and you've been basically run off your feet this whole time. You haven't really been able to catch up with anything and see what's going on. How have you been handling this? Has any emotion come through, or are you keeping it under the surface, or are you just able to push it all down and not even feel it a bit?
Displaying emotion in front of my employers is certainly not something that is done. However, I feel like after the house has gone to bed in the evenings, Elias takes himself a little nip of whiskey, as is permitted, and reminisces over better times with the boy prior to his falling in with the creative crowd.
So you're a little distracted at the very least. You have some kind of emotion bubbling up within you as you step into the house, and all of a sudden you're going to be called upstairs quite unceremoniously to meet with Lord Richard Gladstone, who when you walk in is in an unusual state of dishevelment, and he will say, Elias, I'm glad you returned. I needed to speak with you. Have you noticed around at any point, any of the work you're doing visiting the other properties, have you noticed anybody strange hanging about the houses? You think you're being watched, and I'll ask you to make a spot hidden check retroactively.
Retroactive spot hidden check coming up.
Perfect.
I am very good at my job.
Okay, fantastic. It just so happens that now you think about it, and you didn't really consider it important at the time, that seeing how disturbed Lord Gladstone seems to be, you cast your mind back and you're able to realize that there were a couple of people who seemed to be hanging around, and not necessarily that you were being followed, but as much as, when you went to the various properties that were owned by the Gladstone family, it seemed like there were people who were looking into them or, becoming interested and hanging around where you usually wouldn't expect them. We won't dive into this in super detail, but Lord Richard Gladstone is going to explain to you that he has noticed a few people hanging around the house, and during his work meetings and social responsibilities, which he has to go to as a member of society in 1890s London, he's spotted a couple of people who, through his social connections, he has managed to determine all have a connection to the Pacific Club, which is a social club that Charles was part of. Well, Gladstone is going to say, I think this seems suspicious. It could be information that's pertinent to the investigators we contacted. And frankly, this is becoming more and more disturbing to me. Can you relay this information to them? I have contact details, and I think it's best if they are made aware.
Sir, if it pleases you, I would request to not to just relay this information to your investigators, but stay with them for the duration of their search. Everything is, I assure you, in order for the arrangements we had to make, and I have briefed the members of the household on what must be done. However, I'm sure you understand Charles was my primary responsibility and role here, since he did not have a manservant of his own. And without him here, I find myself at somewhat of a loss, and I confess finding out what happened to Charles to the young master is my primary concern at this stage, and I see that it bothers you immensely also. So if I may represent the household with these investigators for the duration.
I trust you entirely to do so. I've heard good things about these folks in general, but you can never be too careful. And for what it's worth, I know my son cared for you very deeply. And if there was anyone who would be able to be best suited to figure out exactly what happened, in a very British way, doesn't say anything. What happened, happened. I would trust you to do so. Bring to them the news and tell them that I insist that you supervise their work. As their employer, I'm sure they will acquiesce.
Very wise of you.
Great. Very convenient. In which case, as the evening progresses, you will make your preparations. You can gather up anything that you need. And early the next morning, you will be able to head across, and you probably go directly to Lord Benton's place, because that would be the first contact that you have where you can make your introductions and get, explain the situation. Lord Benton, do you have any objection to being joined by Elias when they rock up at your house and basically give you the news and express that they're going to be joining you on your investigation?
I'm sorry, Lord who?
Have I misdone? Oh dear.
Bothwell.
My terrible
Bothwell.
chap. You Bothwell, not Benton. Oh my God, that's a terrible.
No, Bothwell and I.
Typoed. Thank you,
Chums.
Lord Bothwell.
No problem whatsoever. I mean, I think we established last session. I'm very familiar with the household. Was helping Charles in his artistic endeavors. Was essentially like an uncle to Charles to some extent, because his own father wasn't particularly interested in music. So I would say I would know Elias quite well, at least from a sort of, I know you are part of the household, you are a good butler, you buttle well. Yes.
I have a solid bottle going on. I expect that the Lord thinks that we are distant chums, and Elias is not a fan.
Fantastic.
Elias would never dare to suggest.
But would never say that, of course.
Of course. course. Well, it sounds like then at the very least, the integration is relatively smooth. And where the collection of you decide to meet up the next morning, we'll assume that you have picked somewhere relatively near the Pacific Club, which once again is in West End. So you have picked a landmark around that general area. And you can gather up and introduce Elias to your two other investigators. Is there any specific activity that anyone would have liked to have undertaken during the night? Any research, any thoughts, any particular preparations? Otherwise, we will jump straight to the collection of you gathering. You'll be able to have a conversation and make your way towards the Pacific Club.
2 questions from me.
Yes.
Where's the music? Who has the music that we found?
I believe that the last
it.
person to have had it was you, since you were making a music theory roll on it. But it was within your possession. It's not, if no one has it, it's forgotten that you have that asset. You have found
That's
it.
fine.
Definitely isn't me.
Okay, if I was the last person to have it, and it's fine that I still have that on me, and yeah, so I would like to essentially.
You've also got the
spend...
statue, I think, right? Or does Moore's?
No, that's with our Hellfire preacher.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I only have the music. I'd like to spend a bit of my evening taking another look at that now that I actually have, I'm in my own house. And the other thing I want to do, depending on how much time I have, because as we all know, lords do not sleep at the normal time to everyone else. They go to sleep when they feel like going to sleep, and they wake up when they feel like waking up. And that's pretty much how it rolls.
I didn't know that, but I'm learning a lot. Should I be writing this down?
Just take recalcitrant teenager and just
Lords
make them
like
40.
nets. Got it.
Yes, lords.
They're like
lords.
cats.
Yeah, we'll find Burbridge curled up in the sun somewhere. Oh, he's fallen asleep again.
Leave me alone. I'm in front of a fire with an unlit pipe because I fell asleep before I could smoke it. The other one I wanted to have a look at is you mentioned that there was the Pacific Club has a very specific entry requirement.
Yes.
And I wanted to take a bit more of a look now that I don't remember what it's called, but there's something's peerage. There's a book. Can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's literally a book called something or other's peerage, and it lists all of the different people who are part of peerage in the UK.
What's a peerage? Sorry, what's that?
Peerage. If you are a
Lords.
peer, you are any lord, earl, duke, whatever it is.
Titled.
Yeah.
The title.
Titled, yeah. So it's a book of the titles.
Is that the same thing as being able to sit in the House of Lords? Or is that slightly different?
No, sitting in the
That's
House
politics.
of Lords is yeah. So there's people who have titles that are just like sirs, or if you have Esquire, I think that just means you can't remember what that one is. But then there's people who have
just means you own land, but you don't.
yeah.
own the title.
So if
You're
you
a
are
gentleman.
Too derailed off.
sorry.
No, this is. I'm all for this. This is
Lord
what I came from.
Bothwell, to be
This
clear,
is
Lord
just us
Bothwell
Educating the actor.
Lord Bothwell is
what?
landed gentry, meaning he has a title, so he is a lord, but he owns land, which is why his lord's title is not his surname.
Right.
So his lord's title is the fact that he owns land. Technically, I think he should be like an earl or something like that, but I don't
That's
know
a
enough
T.
about the
You
peerage
can't
specifically.
trick me. Don't pull that shit.
Oh my god, next time I'm playing someone who is the Earl of Grey, and you cannot
Yes.
stop me.
Oh my god. Well, speaking of Earl,
Anyway.
unless you want to stay up to very Earl.
Thank you, Burke's peerage, I think. Was anyway, yeah, I wanted to have a look and essentially see if I can work out what families have, if there's any links between the families that do in fact have invitation privileges to the Pacific Club. So those are my two things. Sorry that took 19 hours to describe.
I
Thank you,
am
Dave.
here for it.
That's what it's about. That's
just-
why we're here.
Unfortunately, one of my niche things I know just enough about to be annoying.
Best amount to know about anything. Anyway, there's quite a bit in both of that. Obviously, you tried a cursory look at these music sheets that you recovered from Charles Gladstone's room, and you weren't able to deduce exactly what was going on straight away. So this is really you sitting down and you going through it with almost a mathematical precision. And you're going to have to do the same thing if you want to look at the peerage, the requirements, the heraldry, and all that kind of information. So you've got two options. You can pick just one, or you can do an all-nighter, make a constitution check for getting no sleep, and have done both. Or if you want to completely devote the entire evening to just one, you can make that constitution check and do a single one with a bonus dice.
Look, my constitution is average. So I think I'm happy to fall asleep doing whatever it is I am doing. And I think...
Get nothing
It
done.
really is teenager. You're like, all-nighter, and then you're asleep by 1 a.m. and you're cranky all tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh no, you've given. I am now at the crossroads of like what art finds fascinating is, and therefore Bothwell finds fascinating is both. What am I gonna be more interested in this evening?
in the interest of just leading into the chaos of this fully, would you like to try both with a penalty dice because you're so distracted you can't pick one and you just end up running back and forth and messing everything up?
Yes. I love that idea. But
completely up to you.
you know what? Sure, let's do that. Let's just be silly and like
Proud of you.
Fuck it. This is in my head. Bothwell's not that kind of. He's not frenetic, but I think it's less like running between things and more that he sits down with like Burke's Peerage open, and he also sits down with the music next to him. He's like, right, whiskey, pipe, monocle, let's go, and just like sort of goes, kind of swaps between both. He will fall asleep before he lights his pipe.
I love it. Okay.
For this build up to result in an immediate failed roll, off to bed, and the next morning.
Yes.
It's perfect. This is it. Can you please make for me a history check with a penalty dice and a music theory test with a penalty
Fumble,
dice?
instant death.
I'm gonna make each of them individually and then penalty each one individually,
Sure.
if that's okay. So here's my history without the penalty. All good.
Not
Failure
okay,
straight away,
not
not an
great,
Could
issue.
be-
Because
Oh,
I
no,
feel
can't
like
be a
there's
fumble. Nuts.
it can if I
50.
roll a
50.
oh yeah
96
okay
won't be a
yeah, so that
fumble.
one no. Where is my what was the other one? Music theory.
Music theory, the top of the left
Okay,
hand.
one success on
Give it a
that
shot.
one.
All right.
But
Apparently I don't have a bonus penalty, so I'm just gonna roll 1d10.
Hey,
Oh,
confirmed.
yes.
Hey.
Success.
Fantastic.
You got distracted from
Yeah.
history by the music theory. It's just massively interesting.
I mean, to be fair, I am, in terms of raw numbers, more interested in music than I am in peerage. Mainly, I think, because a lot of them, I'm like flipping through being like, oh, look, it's such and such. I've known his family, like our family's known his family for generations. It's just
flipping
like,
through
It's
the
their
yearbook.
second daughter's cousin's wedding.
yeah, it's just, I'm looking, essentially, Burke's Peerage is an address book.
Do noble signs each other's Burke's peerages with things like, we should hang out more this coming summer and make sure we keep in touch.
It's not an address book. It is like a book that details heraldry and lineage of like all of the major families of the peerage.
Gotta make sure you
But also,
collection of
yes.
Christmas
I'm gonna go
cards.
in our world, yes. Sorry, Jim.
No worries. Okay. So, unfortunately, Burke's Peerage, not very helpful here. Whatever the exact link is, it eludes you for the time being. But the music theory, you have a lot more success with. So, first of all, this isn't a dark and deadly spell. You are not going to summon down Azathoth by
Damn it.
playing music here,
Holding you
or
to that.
by yeah, exactly. It's not some horrible thing. That said, there's definitely something wrong with it, and possibly the only reason that it is not more serious, not more dangerous, is because it is incomplete. There's a lot of times when, as you move across to one of your pianos and you're playing across, you can feel this build up and everything's growing more sinister, and you start to get these kind of heart palpitations and you're feeling more and more and more tense. And then all of a sudden, there's a single note that just doesn't quite manage to build that sense of tension, and it releases. That said, just going through this, I will need you to make a sanity check.
Absolutely. Also, is it okay, because I'm doing this using music theory and not like the ability to play an instrument, is it possible that I get out that slightly bent tuning fork and tap it, and it's not going to be a perfect A, but it'll be a note that Bothwell hums to himself, and then he follows along humming and like doing the music as he's sort of like sipping his whiskey.
That sounds great. I really enjoy that. That's brilliant. So tuning fork in hand, please make your sanity check.
Very good. No.
Okay. All right. Not a fumble because it's a 96. You're just going to lose a single point of sanity. And with your hard success, you can tell that although, once again, not deadly end of the world if this music gets played, it does something and it is unsettling. And once it is complete, it will likely be more dangerous. And at that point, there's a knock on the door, Elias arrives, you reconvene, and the collection of you are whisked away where you will rejoin. Lucas, yes?
May I be so bold as to read a few books over the evening as well?
I think that sounds like a fantastic idea.
Excellent.
What would you feel like exploring in your interior library and your mess of an apartment?
Just like brushing up on every subject I heard mentioned today. So I'm thinking plays and music and connections to occultism, but in particular, anything about Loki and all the nonsense he gets up to. Norse mythology. That seems like right in my wheelhouse.
Sure. That sounds like a pretty great idea.
Just like brushing up so that like all that information is at the forefront of my mind in the next day, you know?
Why don't you make an occult check? That's totally fine.
I would love to.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Success. Okay, so very briefly, Loki, of course, is the name for a Norse trickster god, immortalized in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and many other things. That we, no, of course, but more importantly, within its usage at this time, Loki was kind of just a catch-all that kind of got thrown into a lot of different situations. The use of Loki here and the use of Loki's gift does not necessarily mean that this is linked to Norse mythology, doesn't even necessarily mean that it is linked to sort of tricksters. And you get the feeling that Loki is sort of just being thrown out as a word and kind of tossed in the same way that people might use just old names for like Somnus or Morpheus, things like that have technical meanings. They are related to this mythology or that mythology, but this is very much that Victorian old mythology is cool, let's take names and throw them in.
So it's kind of just like it's going to get people in the doors and then we'll give them our boring play.
Exactly. And more specifically, with a hard success, going through all the links that you have heard and the way that everybody's referring to various pieces of mythology, you're pretty sure that whatever is happening in the mind of Ernest Chillingworth and in this play, it is wholly created by them or is drawn from some unknown source. It is not related to any specific real-world myth that you are aware of.
All right. That's good to know.
Okay.
I fall asleep in my chair.
When you awake, you'll head out into London, and the collection of you will gather together once again just near the Pacific Club. Although first, it would be rude of me not to say, Colin, anything you want to do, or is it just
I'm
fluffy beds
fighting every urge. No, I'm good.
All right, perfect. So, upon rejoining, upon making your acquaintances with Elias, you can play out a discussion scene if you would like. Otherwise, off to the Pacific Club. Any questions first? No?
No.
Brilliant. All right, let's head straight over to the club then. So, after having spoken and got acquainted, you will head towards the social club. It is set away, as I said, in West End, in an area called, and my pronunciation is going to be horrible here, Marylebone Borough. Marylebone Borough, thank you very much. My knowledge of the UK and London is not particularly high.
That one I know from Monopoly.
Oh, really? Is it in Monopoly?
Marylebone Station is one of the stations in Monopoly.
Clearly, it is a prestigious place. Arriving, you will see a rather nondescript but very nicely put together building, quite tall, about 3 stories, with a small garden out the back, surrounded by one of those sort of black stake post walls. There is a gate outside the building that is open, but there is a door manager, kind of guardsman in a very nice suit and a smile, who's standing in front of a little lectern under a small shaded area. You're not close enough for him to have spotted you yet, but it looks like he is vetting anybody who comes through. And you are not seeing people go in and out with any kind of regularity. You also see only very, very minor markings identifying this place at the Pacific Club. If you didn't know where it was, you wouldn't really have known where to go for it. What's your manner of approach? Anybody not coming in? You trying to...
Well,
sell
what do I know about the Pacific Club?
Riddled with
Theodore
cultists.
Holcomb is someone I don't like.
That's correct.
What's his kind of rank in the club?
You know that Theodore Holcomb is a pretty high up in the club, and you know that Theodore Holcomb is constantly popping up in the affairs of people who sort of fall into the occult and start studying all the things that you don't like, and sometimes studying all the things that lead into the mythos. Whether or not Holcomb himself is aware of the mythos, you are not sure, but the Pacific Club is exactly the kind of organization in Victorian England that is fascinated with the occult and dabbles with it, in some way, and that is not something that you approve of. Beyond that, you don't have a detailed understanding of their inner workings.
But I suspect that his activities have pushed people into madness and suicide.
You would be sure of that. They've definitely provided money and interest and social access to people, which has encouraged them down certain paths. And then, of course, you know that Charles was a member, as apparently was Ernest Chillingsworth.
Right.
Well,
If we don't have any other approach, pause for effect, Bothwell will do what Bothwell does best. Walk up, knock on the door, smile and say, "My good man!" And hope that gets him something.
Absolutely. Is anyone avoiding coming up, or are you all busting over to the person at the gate?
I'm making sure that I'm right behind Lord Bothwell and right in front of the academic and the actor.
There's just the
Put
one
in
door.
position. There's back doors to the building, but to get through the gates, yes, there is only one gate that allows access.
I feel like if I've avoided becoming entangled with these folks for this long,
Yeah.
I prefer to keep it that way.
I also think if Mooresville and I can stay back and we'll be plan B, I might start reconnoitering and seeing if there's a fence I can climb or something, and I'll just go in the old-fashioned way of breaking and entering.
Nice.
Well, at worst, I'm gonna provide a great distraction.
Yeah, I might try and find a fence I can shimmy over.
Exactly. All right, that sounds great then. All right, well,
I'll keep watch for you.
brilliant.
I will stay with the Lord and make sure he doesn't
Excellent.
cause too much trouble.
So with the two of you reconnoitering, you can head around, and I will ask you, Colin, to make a climb check, not to actually climb a fence, but to locate a good area. Lucas, we will assume that you are watching, basically, and that you are, no one's gonna spot you at this stage. But meanwhile, the other two of you step forward and you introduce yourself to great big smile, Lord Bothwell, and the man behind the small lectern looks up and smiles, and he will say, "Hello, my name's Michael Robbins. I'm the manager of the club. How may I assist you?"
Michael Robbins. Good. I'm gonna write that down in a sec. Mr. Robbins, hello. I am looking to find someone who frequents your fine establishment, and I'm wondering what the entry requirements are. I do not personally hold a membership here, but I'm hoping we can come to some sort of arrangement if I need to meet one of your fine patrons.
I see. Yes. Well, of course we. The Pacific Club would be honored to have someone like you involved, my lord. But we have a very strict policy that you need to be brought in by a member. So if you'd like to visit,
Well, that
inside,
is extremely fortunate for us, as we do have a letter from my employer, who was a member here. I was a familial member here.
so specifically, his son was a member. So Lord
Is it a
Gladstone
familial?
was not.
Yes, well, I consider him to be.
Absolutely, totally valid. Totally valid. Yes. Just clarify. Excellent.
Yes. sort of half, possibly. Hang on, let me just see what I'm good at before I decide if this is a.
This is also
just
something
me
that you
being
can
no.
use to boost,
Yeah.
Lord Bothwell's attempt to
Bothwell.
charm Wade or something like that.
I suspect I will be boosting Lord Bothwell and saying we are here on request of my employer, Lord Gladstone, in regards to his son Charles, who was in fact a member here.
Yes.
Brilliant. Can you make then a charm check, Lord Bothwell, and we'll get you to do it with a bonus dice, factoring in the assistance from Elias.
Yes. Good.
Yes.
Good. Huzzah.
Good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So the second one is a success.
Hashtag nailed it.
A big smile remains across Michael's face, and he kind of nods and he says, I totally understand. Unfortunately, I'm afraid we really can't let you in, and I'm terribly sorry.
What was your name again, sir?
My name is Michael Robbins. Michael Robbins, I'm manager of
Robbins. Good
the club.
to know.
We can't let you in, but please, I can explain why. I'm afraid that I believe you've been misinformed. Mr. Gladstone was never a member here. A little rough around the edges, I'm afraid, without any disrespect meant to you, sir, but he was, he had associations that we didn't feel made him suitable for membership at the club.
And who might they be?
Well, and he hesitates. Now, both in response to him hesitating here and to what he just said, either of you are welcome to make a psychology check. I think that given you're trying to charm him, it probably makes more sense for Elias to do so.
Oh no.
No, not great.
There's just a white hot fury interrupting that he dared to disbarge.
You're too busy being pissed. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm too busy being angry.
Do I have the ability to make one or no?
I think.
Fine if like it's
I think not at this stage since you're actively engaged in the
absolutely
in the charm check. But Michael Rose will keep talking and say, listen, he was with all respect to you, sir. Your master's son had associations with gamblers and with people of ill repute. Unless I'm mistaken, he was a frequent guest at one of the Whitechapel brothels, and I'm afraid we simply don't accept clientele of that caliber.
Well, I am astonished that this is a conversation that you were happy to have out on the street at an establishment supposedly fine.
Do you want to make an intimidate check or something like this? Sort of be threatening to cause a scene?
I really
Absolutely.
do.
Please.
I just want him to be scared of like, oh, this is reflecting badly on the club. I should just let him inside to.
Yep, absolutely.
Just to placate them before a scene gets made with important people.
That is a success. Okay. You start to sort of get louder and louder and bolster more and more. And he's trying to play guard. He knows a couple of things. First of all, he is utterly determined not to let you in. Much more so, if you had done this outside any other club apart from the Pacific Club, which you know is a little weird already, you would have been let inside by now. You would have been let inside as soon as you started raising your voice, just to avoid like embarrassment. But he's willing to endure, strange looks from everybody around to keep going, no, no, no. That says he does make some acquiescences. He will give you the address of the place in Whitechapel, and he will say, I encourage you to visit, and you will see. If you want to learn about Gladstone, you won't find he did not associate often here. That was where he spent his time. And then eventually, as you get louder, he starts getting louder until the two of you are almost, shouting at each other. And it sounds like
no shouting. It's kind of it's gone from a private conversation to I want people to overhear this.
It's Victorian British shouting, where neither of you are deliberately doing it. Of course,
exactly.
If I may, at a certain point, just like, because has Elias stepped forward at all, or is Elias still like kind of to the side and slightly behind the Lord?
Oh, to the side and side, so he's not going to stand in front of the Lord.
There is just a very quiet, like audible enough that you can hear it and that the manager can hear it, and that it's the tone that people take when they're like, just going to say something that's going to cut through all of this bluster. And Bothwell just goes, Thackeray, if you don't mind. And waits to see if you just...
Oh, Thackeray immediately stops as soon as Bothwell starts talking.
Mr. Robbins, I understand you can't let us into your fine establishment, and we will certainly not push that matter further. I do have one or two small questions for you, if you don't mind, and then we shall get out of your proverbial hair. I assume he has hair.
Thinning, but yes, certainly. Yes, please ask your questions and then be on your way.
Of course. You said that Mr. Gladstone was, the young Mr. Gladstone, was not a member. However, you have already said that those who want to enter your club must do so at the behest of an existing member. Could you perhaps let us know who he was a visitor of?
He looks up, and you can see he's looking real nervous, and he is trying to get an eye on you. Can I get you to make a credit rating check?
Yes.
Yes.
Watch me fail.
Oh, yeah.
But yes.
Credit rating check. Okay, so I think this is it's going to go in a direction that I think you might not expect. But he seems to be trying to do it almost like a how important and influential is this person, and rather than being, oh, I have to tell them, it's should I perceive them as a threat? And he does appear to, because you are somebody who is, influential, and eventually he will finally go, I'm sorry, the club is closed, and then he's going to shut his door shut his book, and he's going to bustle back towards the door, trying to shut down the conversation immediately. Now, obviously this was a success. I'm not trying to punish you for its success.
No, of course.
But what you're getting here is that he's being completely unreasonable, and he thinks whoever brought this person in, he does not want to divulge this information. He clearly thinks that it is a threat to the entire club.
As he sort of goes, the club is closed, I go, it wouldn't happen to have been Ernest Chillingworth, was it?
His shoulders tense, and he hunches, and he whirls, and and then turns back and hurries further away, getting in, and you hear it before the door shuts and locks.
I think it might be that gentleman indeed, sir.
As the
Good work there, Thackeray, by the way.
Likewise, sir.
Well, that poor gentleman seemed a little frazzled. I wasn't entirely intending to upset the poor man. You shouldn't treat staff badly. It never does well. Never mind. Hopefully the other two got what they were looking for, a nifty fence or wall or something to that effect. And I'm just going to start wandering away with Thackeray, I assume, wandering quite close behind. Just the Lord will continue to natter, and Thackeray, I assume, based on the way you're playing them, Alex, is just going to kind of be silent and go, yes.
There's the occasional
no,
yes,
Your Lordship.
Sir. Yes. Quiet.
So speaking of which, let us jump straight across to our two reconnoiters who have
I'll tell you what we got.
And I will
get some trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That conversation is going to go for about 5-10 minutes. There's some raised, sort of deliberately not raised voices. Let's get that climb check from you then.
Can I get a bonus dice from Professor Mooresville?
Absolutely, that makes total sense.
In what sense? I was
getting a
around.
boost?
I was looking out.
Are you on lookout? Or are you... Up to you, man.
I was looking out.
All right, I'll solo it. Watch this.
I don't think the professor would deign to, let this young
You've never
man
seen
stand
a
on his
fence
shoulders.
in your life, let alone dare to clamber. It's alright, I got this, mate.
Not for me.
Just wang.
Right, okay. So looking around, there is nowhere where you can, as you get some time to pass up and down and to look about, and there is nowhere that you can see where you're just going to be immediately able to hop over. So what will be is if you push the roll, you can attempt it, but your risk is going to be either injuring yourself or, worse comes to worse, getting forced into a stealth roll and avoiding being spotted by people on the inside of the club as you're, halfway across a fence when somebody opens the door at the wrong time. Specifically, the black fence that goes around, once you get to the back, there's this little open courtyard. You can see some nice ornate doors built around it. You can kind of see inside a little bit, and there is the occasional bit of movement. There's a small, storeroom / probably kitchens quarters or a staff quarters towards the side of the building, multiple story. It's a pretty small establishment, but it's very nice.
Looks nice in there. Professor? Do you think maybe you could just give me a little boost and I just want to look over. Just for a moment, see who's inside.
I don't like it. All right. Just one quick look around, you hear me?
Just a little hop, and then I can drop back down.
Don't let no one see you, lad.
They're making plenty of a distraction. Now, up. I'll kind of scramble against the fence with a boot on the professor's shoulder and just try and get a look into the courtyard.
Fantastic. So I think you can either make a spot hidden roll with a bonus dice here, and this isn't a push spot hidden roll. This is just you getting a proper look, scanning around. Or if you'd like to actually do the vault, that would be a push climb check.
I just want to get a look in.
All right, make a spot hidden check.
Zip.
Hard success. Okay, fantastic. So, beyond the filigree, you will occasionally catch enough of a glimpse inside to see that the people moving about seem to be all very, 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 respectable, wealthy, well-dressed people. That said, for a social club, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of socializing happening. This place seems more like, if anything, a library of some sort. You can see a lot of people reading, people moving back and forth, heading up and down stairs. It's nice, and there's plush leather chairs, and probably whiskey is served to people. But this seems much more of a quieter place. You will also see staff moving back and forth, heading towards that building, and judging by its size and the amount of people coming back and forth, you would expect there's some quarters in there, which suggests the staff probably live on this site. So there's, they can do a lot of work and they can move back and forth. With a hard success, you will also notice that there's a couple of patches on the walls of the inside of the building, and you're really kind of having to edge along and get glimpses in through like the
this
window.
way, just step left.
Pardon me?
Nothing. Go on.
No, okay, sorry. Moving across, peeking through inside, you will see missing sort of gaps on the walls of the building where, from the inside, where there should be art hanging, and you would expect all kinds of like nice pictures, but they appear to be noticeably absent. And moving around a little bit more, you will eventually see towards the side of the servants' quarters, there is like a collection of paintings or like large framed shapes wrapped in collections of like brown paper that look like they might be the ones that have just been taken down, and they're being put out here, presumably to be moved into storage or to be disposed of.
It looks more like your kind of club professor. It's a shame you dislike it so.
What are they reading?
I couldn't tell you, sir. From here, and honestly, names, I'm not quite so literate. I can't tell you. They're all the way over there. They're moving paintings, though. They might be redressing or
moving
something
paintings.
Similar. Yeah, and there's a few servants hopping about. Looks like they can host people here for a day or so at least. Drop me down. There's not much in there, and there's no easy way in. I also couldn't see anyone of note that I could recognize.
If you want to push the climb check, you could get over, and that means you'd be able to walk straight up to the paintings and potentially get a better view inside the house where you could identify book names and get some more information. That said, obviously there's a risk of failing the roll and getting forced into a stealth.
I think we're good, right? We see the others are wrapping up and getting foisted. Like, that, we're not meeting people inside there at this point. We'll be going in ourselves.
Okay. All right. In which case, you can step away from the fence and the collection of you can rejoin each other a short distance away where you can make your next set of plans.
You couldn't get in then.
We're being run around town, it feels like, right? I mean, we've traveled all the way over here, and now this Whitechapel address that we're supposed to go to. It just seems like we're following leads that are being laid out for us. I wonder if we're not being, led astray.
That is an interesting observation.
I don't get the feeling we're being led astray as much as there are a lot of threads leading to a specific set of people that have wandered all across London.
I suppose, but I mean, I thought we were told in no uncertain terms that he was a member here, and now we find that he wasn't. It seems as though they might just be
He
cleaning their
was
books and changing their story.
Apparently
Where are you from again,
associating.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
I was going for
apparently
more nasal
associating.
than location.
Yeah, and then you just ended up an American. That's why you're not doing so well in the acting scene over
it's
here.
for a role. It's for an upcoming role.
I'm practicing
yeah,
for
he's a
another
method
one.
actor.
Yeah.
Method actor.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
I'm being a
method. That's fine.
sneaky
Makes sense.
breaking and entering type, that's my Yank accent.
Of course.
Charles may have been a member in the same way that Chillingworth was a member, although it does appear, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, Chillingworth did say he was no longer welcome at the club, specifically to us.
He didn't say he was no longer welcome at the club. He said he has not been there for quite some time. You may have inferred that was a little more serious, but I don't think he explicitly said, "I'm not welcome. I'm not a member."
He said he when we mention the Pacific Club, I have a note here that it caused tension. So I think that's what I implied, was like there's something not good, and he said he hadn't been there in some time. So
Yes, exactly. So there's something was up, and he went, "I haven't been there in a bit."
yeah. So if Chillingworth is on the out and out, it makes sense that regardless of whether Charles was a member or not, his access to the club was somewhat dependent on Chillingworth, and if Chillingworth is no longer welcome, then it stands to reason that Charles would also be struck from the record, as a member or otherwise, if that was his sort of patron, as it were.
Slightly odd of them to say that he was never a member rather than he is no longer a member. However, that does seem like a very deliberate choice.
I think the brothel may be a red herring. Just because if he was welcome and then they wanted a reason for him not to be welcome, it makes much more
That's a
sense to
very
say
good
he
one.
was an unsavory sort and was never welcome, rather than it being an actual reason. I suspect Chillingworth is much more the actual reason. However,
he did
We've
react
known-
rather poorly to
we've
the
known
name
Holcomb to-
Chillingworth.
Lead people astray, right? I mean, if it's not uncharacteristic for him to lead people to liquor and
Holcomb or
opium and
Chillingworth?
so on and so forth.
Holcomb we
It's
know
a-
very little about.
Oh,
a
I
wizard.
know.
Oh, you...
I know enough
Yes.
about Holcomb for the lot of
Right.
us.
Yes. But do you think certain types of music lead people astray, Professor? And anything stronger than soda water?
Oh, aye.
Right. Very good. Well, you said they were taking art off the walls.
Yep, packing it up, changing it out.
What kind of art did they have exactly?
The wrapped kind.
Were they bringing new ones in or just moving things out?
Seemed like just, I mean, I'm not a noble folk or anything. It seemed, the sort of thing one might do come spring, change your atmosphere and shake things up a little.
No, mark my words, they're up to something.
I can't think of anything particularly heinous about redecorating, but if you say so, Professor.
Oh, I do.
If they were just taking things out and not bringing things in, then
Were
it's
they-
not
well-
redecorating, it's moving.
Can you really clarify,
just-
Jim, what I saw?
Pardon me, I apologize. I was going through my own notes while you guys made plans. Please refresh my memory of exactly what you want clarified.
What were
whether
they
they were
doing
moving
with the
things in.
paintings?
They had moved them down, and they had placed them alongside the servants' quarters. It looked like they were in the process of maybe disposing them or storing them. Effectively, they were taking
Okay.
down a bunch of pieces of artwork and getting rid of them, in a way that would have been, they should have had replacements that unseemly. It's as if they were taking stuff down off the wall because it needed to be taken down now.
They were also
Right.
they were wrapping them up though. Like they weren't just immediately
Yes, they
shredding
had
them and
covered
chucking them
them.
in a pile.
No, they weren't destroying them, but they were pretty. They were carefully getting rid of them. That's that they had covered them up. Yes.
Yeah.
A rapid change in trends.
It would be unusual to redecorate an entire facility, an entire club, without having something ready to put back up. I mean, an empty wall is
Correct.
just frankly unseemly.
They do sound like they're in a little bit of a hurry. Something has happened that perhaps throws them into a frenzy, and I can think of one notable event that's happened quite recently. He did seem very upset when we mentioned the Lord's name.
I also find it interesting. We're looking into the world of art. Wonderful place. The Pacific Club has just ejected, or at least made potentially ejected, 2 of its members that were both connected to the arts here in London. And they are also removing paintings.
They're taking their paintings. Were they going toward the street light? Any chance there's a
One might
wagon
come
or a
through
carriage
here?
waiting out in the road?
Sure, I think there's a chance. If we wait a moment, it has to come somewhere. Unless they're storing them on the premises, I suppose.
Let's watch and wait. See if anything comes out.
Moving across, before you make a decision, you will be able to determine pretty quickly that what they're probably doing is packing them down and aiming to move them off premises. But this will be something that happens in, an hour or 2, a couple of hours. So it would be an investment of time if you want to stay here. Totally fine if you do.
I have all the time in the world.
Well, we don't. So we've got the play or whatever this evening.
Dress
right?
rehearsal.
Yeah, which we want to go to because there's the ominous after party, so we need to be at that. So that gives us the day, right? So we can spend it here. There's also this Whitechapel brothel. What else do we have?
Well,
we
that
wanna
certainly
do
won't
today?
be open during the day, I believe.
Good call.
We do also have the address of the young composer that was taking over from... Oh, I didn't mention, I had a gander at the music last night.
Squiz.
Properly gave me the willies, that did.
Don't like
Well.
the sound of that.
It's not done, obviously. It's not pleasant, clearly, and when it is done, it's going to be worse. So,
Is it just
jolly good show.
bad music?
not a very
There's
good
plenty of
composer.
bad music out there.
Daggery. It was written by Charles.
So it's bad music.
Not just bad
I loved the boy
music.
dearly, but
He
his
was an exemplary musician, Thackeray. Perhaps not
he
in
was a
his
very
youth.
good historian of music, and
is a
understood the.
tool.
He was an
Music
exemplary
is-
musician, and the music is, though unfinished, quite moving. It just moves in a rather unpleasant sort of fashion. Less swelling of the heart and the emotions, and more liquefying of the bowels.
Make no mistake, music is a tool that those who want to bend the minds of men can use to great effect.
So
And
what I'm
emotion.
hearing is composer
Yes,
and bowel movements.
yes. Of the unpleasant sort. Should the
As
music be
opposed to
completed?
the other kind. Right.
Consensus
If
seems
it
to be a trip to
Pleases you all. Yes. If it pleases you all, I wouldn't mind having a chat to this replacement composer.
David Ridley
Yes.
is the young man's name. We received there was a letter, wasn't there? Fenton.
Yeah, Daniel Ridley.
Sorry, Daniel.
And we have the handover where it's the handout we have
Yeah.
suggesting that he'd like a crack at it.
That
And
could be
also-
our next port of call. We're
There was
working our
an
way
input-
up the food chain.
And there was an implication that Charles was struggling to finish the piece, and that's why Ridley had been brought in by Chillingworth.
Yeah.
I think we have a chat to this Ridley before taking on Chillingworth. Chillingworth does seem to be at the center of a lot of this, and I would like to confront him with more information than we currently have.
Ridley's
I
also just on the mundane murder charge thing. He's the only one that stood to benefit from Charles's death. Everyone else so far has been set back by it, except maybe
Yes.
the actress who got tired of her latest puppy dog. So I think this guy
Yeah,
Let's
don't
whack him
think
in
you murder
irons, take him
puppy
to the
dogs.
police, and get it done.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, to the composer.
Let's go find
On
him.
the way to the composer, I will, because you've reminded me of something, thank you, Dave, we'll look at the professor and say, did you by any chance have another look at that statue?
Did I take the statue?
Yes, you have the statue.
Oh no, I shouldn't have done that.
Chuck it in the Thames.
You were
No.
like, no, I want to hold on to it, and we're like, no, okay, because I was going to give it to Chillingworth.
I forgot about that. It went straight into the safe, where it's safe from any human eyes for now.
Straight in the pool room.
For now.
Amazing. So you don't have it
Straight
on
onto
you.
the mantelpiece, where it really brings the room together.
Or pulls it
No.
apart, depending on which way you look at it.
I think it's had quite enough time in the sunlight. Needs to be locked away, where it can't do any more harm for just some time yet. Some time yet. Oh, I gotta write down all the diphthongs. Time.
Time.
Yeah, I've just bailed on mine.
How, not who. Who is Scottish. How. That's the Northern English one. Oh, Northern English is my
Accents, they're
one
fun.
accent. It's my one accent in voice class at acting school, and I've already lost it.
Okay, well,
look.
our investigators then head over towards the home of Daniel Ridley, which is not too. Sorry,
With all the speed of a wandering group of tourists.
Yes.
You have a lord with you. This was never going to be quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Head over towards Daniel Ridley's apartment, which is in Soho, relatively close to the home, so the studio of Ernest Chillingworth. When you arrive at the apartment, it is not as ostentatious as Chillingworth's studio. It's a smaller house, kind of one of those tight Victorian townhouses, all built together. And when you arrive at the building, you can see that there's there's like some small garden bed out the front, but it's all overgrown and it looks pretty in poor shape. And as you get close, you're going to notice that the door is ever so slightly ajar. And I'm not quite sure why, but all the hairs on the back of your neck start standing up as you get close to this place. You just feel a little bit on edge gazing at this little townhouse standing alone.
As far as I'm concerned, that counts. Let's go in.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless there's something very, very obvious about how unsettling this is, Bothwell might feel it, but absolutely still just strides straight up to the door, knocks, and goes, Mr. Ridley!
You do knock. It's
Yes.
ajar.
Yes. I'll knock.
Yes, of course, you knock.
In
You
the way
always
of
knock.
like, you knock and then open the door.
Yes.
All right.
You
there's
always
always-
knock, even if you intend to let yourself in, you still knock. It's polite.
Mr. Ridley!
Open the door and immediately this horrible stench hits you. Just like
Oh dear.
sewage, basically. There's no other way to put it. Just hits you straight away, and you kind of
Smells like London.
You know, smells very London, and the door swings open a little bit, and you can just see this small house. The downstairs rooms are like there's no light, and it's kind of musty, but you can see that obviously there are lights on upstairs, and in response to your knock, you hear the creaking of movement coming from the second floor.
Hello?
Mr. Ridley? We're here on business. Of the artistic kind.
After the initial sound of someone moving, you hear no additional sound from upstairs. Not the creaking of footsteps, not a call in response, just emptiness. The house stands deserted on the lower floor in front of you, nothing but that staircase leading up. If you strain your ears, you might be able to pick up something, but you're not quite sure.
Thackeray's going to put up a hand and just quietly say, "Gentlemen, I do not like this. Please do permit me to take the lead here."
Well, if you
It says gentlemen. He's only speaking to the Lord.
Yes, we'll be like, by all means, Thackeray, if you feel that's best, but Perhaps the man, he could be drunk or drugged or some such.
Precisely, and men in those conditions are unpredictable at best. And I'll start very quietly listening out, going up the stairs.
All right. Do you want to stand at the bottom and listen, giving time since your knock and arrival, or would you like to make a stealth check and head upstairs? Or
I'm not stealthy, but I'm going to try.
follow behind Mr. Thackeray.
Okay. So I'm seeing the Lord and the Professor are standing at the bottom, while Thackeray walks up the stairs.
I'm going. I would like to just be ahead as a advanced kind of. I'm not very quiet. This is not going to go well.
Do you get the impression that Thackeray is a person of action? Like, has Thackeray been in a few scraps?
If the Professor makes noises of like, should the butler go? Both will just be like, Thackeray is an excellent man for any kind of job wherein anyone needs to be politely rendered non-problematic.
We'll follow your lead then.
Well, Thackeray, are you happy for Colin, who is trying to sneak, to get a little bit ahead of you, just to sort of peek around?
Yeah. I mostly just wanted to be ahead of the Lord because I'm protecting the peerage.
That's the important thing then. So Colin...
The rabble can do as they please.
Rabble, what would you like to do?
So do you want to go up first, Mr. Butler?
I'm so not stealthy. That's going to go so badly.
We can both roll. We can try.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm happy to take point.
And I will give Thackeray a 5-foot head start, and then,
just a bit
if
of a
nothing
head start.
Immediately, if a tentacle doesn't come out the wall and rend him back in, I will continue up afterwards.
Get ready for this to be not stealthy. It is not stealthy.
Okay.
No.
I am not stealthy.
No.
Nor am I.
Oh, no. Unfortunately.
Double high five. These stairs, man, they creak. This is an old-ass place.
They absolutely do. This place is not very well maintained. And as you start to get further and further up, you can hear more hurried movement. And this time, as you go up, you do manage to discern multiple sets of footsteps moving. You arrive at the top of this staircase and peek out into a small hallway. There's a couple of rooms, side probably bedrooms, maybe like a parlor or powder room. More importantly, the only one that is open is at the end of the hallway, where you can see a large desk, and the smell is really emanating out of that room particularly. From the hallway, peering straight down, you can see a hunched figure who is leaning over a desk that is covered with sheets of music, and they are working frantically. Now, having failed your stealth checks, you also make a bit of noise, and definitively you see two big, large, British-fed shapes move in and kind of flank the desk. Two thug-like characters who just sort of stand and look towards you, look towards the man behind the desk who is writing, and they're making their presence known, but they're not moving to stop you approaching. And although they're definitely giving off sinister vibes, they're not taking any direct action.
Will they have seen the two behind us yet, if we've got a bit of a head start?
There was yelling and movement. They know a group is coming up. They do not know exactly how many there are. They've only seen the two of you.
Okay. I might kind of put, as I'm walking, just put my hand behind my back and just kind of indicate for the two behind us to hang back a second if they haven't already been seen. It would be nice for us not all to be seen at once.
All right, perfect. Are you, the two of you, happy to take a step and wait behind?
Mm-hmm.
Roger that, good buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. It's not for now.
For now.
I know Thackeray well enough to be like, very well.
He's probably got a reason.
Which leaves Fenton and Thackeray at the top, staring at the two thugs, locking eyes, while the man behind the desk appears to be completely not oblivious. He might sort of glance up, but he's not really focused. He's too busy working.
Just a piece of
master,
information.
you left your door open.
What did you say very quickly, Art? Just
11.
Just a piece of information specifically for Alex, which we would have said already. We have already met Chillingworth, and Chillingworth gave us the address for Ridley's apartment, and Ridley is working for Chillingworth. So just if that helps to connect some dots.
Good piece of information. So, man behind the desk kind of looks up, says, and then in a chill, kind of just sort of muttering, hardly responding to you with like anything more than like an automatic response. The two thugs look towards each other, and one of them like frowns at the other as if it's somehow their fault that the door's been left open. The other one just frowns back because that's what you do when you get frowned at. They both look again towards you. I assume you've stepped forward now and are kind of in the middle of the hallway.
He's trying to ignore the smell.
Yep. Getting closer, I will say that you're right about middle of the hallway, heading towards the doorway. You can. It's really reeking through, and with a better sight of things, you can tell that the person behind the desk, who you assume to be Ridley, and who I will refer to as such, is working on what appears to be sheet music, and is frantically going through like a person possessed. Their hands are covered in like ink stains. They also don't look well. Their face is drawn back. Their eyes are sunken. And it becomes clear to you that the smell is because they are sitting in their own filth. The two thugs are tense but not moving. Colin, what are you doing at this time? Are you hanging back, or are you supporting Thackeray?
I'm going to let Thackeray talk, but otherwise I'm going to interject. I'm talking. I'm here to talk, not to sneak.
Yeah.
Excellent. They are not really addressing you at this point. It's pretty silent.
Did you have anything more you wanted to say, Thackeray?
No, it was just to get his attention and see if he was going to look up.
All right, well, okay, so I'm going to go. Are you Mr. Ridley then as well?
Yes. Just Daniel Ridley. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of something, so I can't answer too many questions. But why are you here? Is it more notes? What's happening?
You're being held here against your will. These two men. You sent by Chillingworth?
One of the men grunts. We're not holding him. Behind the desk, the man I'm just. They're just helping me. Chillingworth. I'm preparing music for Chillingworth for an upcoming performance, and I'm almost done. Leans back in.
The work you're finishing, you inherit it from a dead man.
Yes, from Gladstone, Charles. Yes,
Did you kill him?
Kill him. The thugs both straighten up and tense. Kill him? No. God, no. He was a great man, a kind man. I didn't know him too long. We were both so absorbed with this work, but the burden of this, it's heavy, and he couldn't take it. But I'll get it done.
I've got a friend downstairs who specializes in these sorts of strange works. He'd warn you not to continue. Would you like to talk to him? I think he might be able to set this to right.
Do you want to make a persuade check?
I'm more just teeing up Mooresville to come up and give him a yell.
Yeah,
I don't
was
think
an
I'm super
invitation.
socially. Yeah, I'm opening up the door
yeah.
too lower to come up and try and talk some sense into this young lad.
Yes, exactly. The thugs are not outright attacking us, therefore it's probably awkward for
Exactly, and
for his lordship to approach.
Yeah, and I think Thackeray and I keep between, so if the thugs make a rush for us, we're the first two to get hit.
Yeah, or
perfect. Yeah, so two of you step
I'm mostly keeping a line on the thugs at this point.
Yes,
totally fair. Okay, so the two thugs are, as I mentioned, they're present in the room, but no, they do not rush you. And actually, when you kind of press the issue and you move in, they appear to acquiesce. Now, I'd ask you to make a persuasion check just to gauge a particular response from Ridley. But it's, as you said, you don't. He just sort of says, "I'm very busy. I can't afford to see anybody right now." But then also doesn't move to sort of dismiss you or do anything. He's too busy with his work. the two of you now from downstairs hearing this invitation can probably step up, where you will once again be hit by the smell and you can see the state of the room. Walking in, I'm now going to assume you're all in the office where you are watching Ridley work frantically. The two thugs have backed away a little bit, and you can see now he appears to be working on the final line of a large pile of sheet music. He is very, very close to finishing the piece.
All right, lads. Can you look at me for just a minute? Just want to talk. Do you want to put the pen down?
At this, the thugs step forward, and one of them will say, "Let him work. He wants to work. Let him work."
We are here
I want
about
to hear
a
it from
dead
him.
boy. This is not a trivial matter in the slightest, and we were not speaking to you. The gentleman was speaking to young Master Daniel.
Do you want to make an intimidate check, Thackeray? And you can be. I reckon you can be. You're a pretty threatening guy, Professor. Despite your sort of weirdness, you get that sort of like sinisterness in. Would you
Very
like to
much
take a
because
bonus
of his
die?
weirdness.
Well,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
Good, thank you. Yes, good. Nope, no.
Dupont
No.
of luck?
Yep,
Dupont?
I'm gonna do it.
2 points of luck.
Cool.
Yep, gotta do it.
So with 2 points of luck spent to succeed, you like lock eyes with one of these thugs. They're a great. The one who you lock eyes with is a good deal younger than you, but you have experience and focus. And after a couple of he finally backs down and steps back. After a couple of seconds, because he's very distracted, he's not answering properly, he will say, I'll put it down in just a minute. I'm just 2 bars left. And he's, writing a note, then crossing it out and writing it out and crossing it out. But he is slowly moving across that final stage.
Lads, put the pen down.
Mr. Ridley.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Ridley.
Dear Lord, you can do what you want. Just take the pen.
And I will walk over to him.
Yep.
Slowly.
Yep.
And just say, Mr. Ridley, we are here. Chillingworth gave us your address, and we would like to talk to you about the music. Would you mind if I had a look at it for a moment just before you finish your final stanzas? I'd like to make sure it's appropriate.
Take
for
the
piece."
pen.
In response to both of you, to Lucas, to the professor yelling, to you, Lord Bothwell, to trying to reason with him, he starts going, "I'm almost done. I'm almost 1 bar left. Done. Almost done. You can
Grab
have it."
the
Yeah, I will just and again,
It's gently.
if I have to, actually, I'd like to try something first, if I may. I'm going to go and take the pen, but I would also like to say to him, what you are doing killed a young man. And I
Okay.
think we ought to be a little careful about finishing anything that has a body count attached to it, young man. And I'd like to try and persuade him to at least pause, so I have a
To not,
so we have a better
wrestle
time.
you over the pen.
Yeah,
I
more
think it's
just
the thugs that's going to be more slowing you down getting at the pen.
There is a line in the sand here, which is, do you try to take the pen or do you just talk to him? And the line in the sand, when it is crossed, is 2 thugs rushing forward. He's pretty feeble looking kind of guy. He might
How close is he to the end of this? Do I have a chance to try this and then
Just
pen, or am I going to
half
have
a
to?
bar left.
I will take
Grab
it.
it.
Yes.
All
I will
right.
I will take the pen because I will address him. But as I say, I don't think it's safe to finish something with a body count. I will look up at the 2 guards and say body count to them,
Excellent.
making a
So,
point.
make a persuasion check. This is mostly going to be about how Ridley responds. That said, the thugs are responding, and it is the 2 of them rushing forward. So
You down the stairs.
Thackeray, I understand that you are going to definitely intersperse yourself between one of them. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The other one is going to make a straight beeline for Lord Bothwell, and we will now go to dexterity order. Could you all please provide me with your dexterities?
If you go to the combat tab,
that was bad. That was not what I meant.
You go to the combat tab and then click dexterity there on the left. It'll just tell everyone.
There it is. Yeah, Colin. Nice.
Too fast.
Colin is quick.
Bothwell and I are not swift. We have lived a...
It's not terrible.
In which case, we will determine, because there's a lot of people on 50, we will determine based on speed of roll 20 send. So we will go for Lucas, and then we will go Elias, and then we will go
Click
Ash.
on the draw.
After Colin, of course.
After Colin.
Everyone after Colin.
Now, meanwhile, let me get dexterities for Frank and Cecil, in case you are interested. Lovely characters who will...
It is Cecil, because we're in jolly old England and not America, where it would be Cecil.
Mm-hmm. It's Cecil.
Quite right.
Frank and Cecil, who also have dexterities of 50. And since I was slowest on the draw by my own assessment, you guys come in and you can all take an action beforehand. So they rush. They are rushing Lord Bothwell. They were coming across the room. They'd stepped back and they move in. Both heavy people. You're not sure. At this stage, they look like they're going to grab you and haul you off. Maybe a punch will get thrown, but they're not pulling out knives or anything like that. First up is Colin.
I'm going to, standing up to the side, as soon as they push forward, I'm going to try and find a gap between the two of them, charge through and get to old mate and his pen as quickly as possible, and I'm going to try and get the pen. Is there a window towards the back?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, my objective is 1 clean sprint, forward, 10 seized, out the back, and open the window and
can I make a
whip it into the
suggestion?
distance.
Yep.
No, actually, never mind, because I can't.
I'm also grabbing a fistful of the paper as well. My objective is no completo. I'm not preserving shit for research.
That is completely fair. So I will ask you to make, I think I'd be happy with a brawl. I would also be completely happy with a sleight of hand here.
Sure. Do I get past the guards first? Because if I'm the first one through, they
they need to cross in time. So the guards weren't in between you. They were kind of hovering. It's almost like they
I thought they were in front of him.
No, they were like next to him behind the desk.
They stepped back. They're kind of flanking him. Yeah. So you can dive right over.
Yeah, I'll do that then. Sleight of hand, was it?
Sleight of hand, please.
Sure. Schwang.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, you snatch the pen out, and it goes, out the window along with a sheaf of papers, and you can see Ridley suddenly gasps and blinks as if he's coming back into himself to a certain degree, looks around and starts to mutter, no. Meanwhile, we go across to Lucas, the professor. What would you like to do?
Sorry, lost track. Colin's got the music?
Music and papers, and has moved and tossed them out a window. So a scatter of papers into the wind and a pen go tumbling out.
That's not ideal. I'd like to run down the stairs and get my hands on that music.
So that immediately Lucas goes,
How much music was it the whole thing that got thrown out, or was it just a chunk of it?
A handful of sheets, you'll say.
Okay, so there's still some on the desk.
Yeah, what you got, you're not entirely sure. What you didn't get. Lucas, I get the image of you running to the window and trying to grab them and then spinning about and darting back down the stairs and trying to get down. Do you want to just make a dexterity check here? We'll see how quickly you are able to get about.
Not very.
Ooh. Okay, so you leave the room, starting down the stairs, going after the music itself as we go across to Elias.
I've only got 25. I'm going to keep them. No, we're halfway through the second session.
Go for it.
What's the benefit of me succeeding this?
Benefit of you succeeding this is that you're going to get down quickly enough to be able to see where all the music and the pens go. They will be out of the room, but you will be able to ensure that none of them are lost to you.
I'll go for that. 8 points, keep track of them.
Okay, you keep track and you start running downstairs at this point. And we go across to Elias.
I'm going to position myself between the Lord and the thugs spread my hands, which, if there was nothing notable about Elias prior to this moment, his nose appears slightly broken and there's definitely calluses on the hands. And we'll say, there doesn't seem to be much point in continuing this particular course of action. Now, does there, lads? And kind of try and intimidate into just letting us talk to him now that we just,
got rid of that stuff. Please make an intimidate check. This is going to be scaled successes. So, you know, you'll get a different result. Even in extreme, you know, there's going to be, they're pretty intense. Yes.
Bothwell?
I'm going to be going next. Would you allow, given we're on the same dexterity, for me to essentially assist with this?
Ooh.
That is totally fine. How are you assisting? What do you do?
Pull myself up to my full height. And I would say, gentlemen, do you know who I am?
Yes.
Fantastic.
And remind me, pulling a gun escalates things very badly, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, drawing a weapon obviously is going to it'll mean that they draw weapons. Yeah.
Very good. In that case, we shall not draw a weapon.
Let's not get shot.
But I am very much going to, pull myself up to my full height, and in the kind of gustiest of bellows, do you know who I am?
I am. Big intimidate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my intimidate is 50, so I'm not terrible at it.
Oh, we're very scary. We're scary people.
Extreme success. Fantastic.
Not today, lads.
So you spin around, you know who I am, and you plant yourself. The thugs, with an extreme success, are a little out of their elements. You know, here they hesitate, and you can see now in their eyes, they're weirded out by what's going on here too. They've probably got orders, and they're just trying their best to follow them. And you know, they hesitate. They're going to do nothing for their turn, which moves us across to Ridley, who, with a great sigh of relief, after going no for a few seconds, reaches forward, takes a letter opener from the desk, and stabs himself in the throat.
Hell yeah.
Oh, dear.
He immediately slumps back. Everyone in the room needs to make a sanity check.
Any chance I can intervene, given I'm right next to him? I presume it's too quick, and I'm heading to the window as it happens.
No, I mean you are just next, and I think you were close. I'll tell you what. Let's do a hard fighting brawl or a regular sleight of hand, I think.
Oh, I think it'd have to be fighting brawl. He's going to jam it in his... this isn't me, sliding it out from under him. This is him wrenching it towards his throat.
I pictured it as you, he goes
to the tackling him.
Grab it before he gets it, was my idea. But yeah,
I think I'm just lunging for him.
Fighting
I also
brawl,
kind of want to see where this goes. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
I tried.
So you dive forward.
Yeah, you made an attempt.
All right, so you want sanity checks from all of us at this point?
Sanity checks from everybody.
Not me.
Well, everyone in the room.
I wasn't in the room.
Again, I'm good at this.
Zip.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So on a failure, I will ask everybody witnessing this to take a D4 of sanity loss, and on a success, you're just going to take a single point.
Yep.
The old grab then stab.
You've seen worse.
Yeah.
Hardly severe. So everyone flinches as he grabs this knife and he stabs himself in the throat with it. And he immediately kind of leans back. What we're going to do, rather than calculating, the exact damage he does to himself, because he can crit himself because he's not resisting, etc., etc., etc. He starts dying. Someone might be able to get to him and, staunch the bleeding, but he sinks back into his chair and his whole body collapses with this great, as if a great weight has been taken off of his shoulders and then started to come out of the hole in the front of his throat.
Okay, I would like to try and do that.
I think it's...
Absolutely.
I think I'm up first, right?
Yes, you
still
try
in
to intercept, so okay. I think that's going to be your you tried to dive forward and you were too slow.
Sure.
Yeah. So you grabbed it, unfortunately weren't able to. So you'll miss this top of this round. And we jump then across to Lucas downstairs.
Oh, that was fast. Follow those cheats.
All right, you start grabbing up the papers immediately. You're not sure what's happening upstairs, although you can hear yelling and shouting. Elias, your action?
I am going to try and staunch the bleeding.
Right, you spin around and you turn back to the now bleeding musician in the chair. You can make a first aid check here to try and stabilize him. Oh no! Not a fumble, tragically. But you go and start like fumbling at his throat, and he is just completely. You know, when he looks up at you, he's just relaxed, and there's almost like amusement in his eyes as he sees you doing this. This is all meaningless, some kind of joke or something like that. He just seems completely, given over to what is happening. Next up is Lord Bothwell.
Hello. What do the thugs like? What are they looking? What is their intent look like? Have they made a move towards? Like, are they moving towards Ridley? Are they moving towards us? Or are they still kind of?
One of them is eyeing Ridley. One of them is eyeing the music.
Very good. If they're not immediately coming towards either of us, I will continue the line that I had before, essentially, and say, "My good gentlemen, whatever you are being paid, surely it is not enough for this madness."
Do you want to make an intimidate check yourself? This is going to be hard difficulty.
I'm not trying to intimidate anymore at this point. I'm implying, now with my, I know you do know who I am, that I can pay more.
Oh, okay.
That you can release them from this very difficult job, and would they like to not be doing this particular thing anymore?
I like that.
You seem to be in need of
a better
cash.
A less horrifying job.
I think let's take a credit rating then, as you literally, it's a movement they might have seen before. You literally go for your pocketbook.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a gun.
Extreme success.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
So they do know who I am. At least they know that I have money. Maybe they take a good look at my clothing and go, "Oh,"
because you pull out money.
Yes.
Immediately. You pull out like a handful of bills, and you can see them glancing at each other. You can see them doing the maths, and immediately one of the others is going to go, "Stuff it," and dart forward, grab a handful of bills from you, like not really counting, and leave. Just start darting out down the stairs. The other one is going to yell like, "Wait!" Look around, and you're pretty sure he is going to follow the turn after, but he does dither for a moment before he does anything. Meanwhile, at the top of the at the end of the round, then we reach Ridley's turn. The knife is still in his throat. A failed first aid roll has been applied, and through gurgles, he starts to choke. I'm going to have him make a constitution roll to see how he goes. That is Frank and Cecil's, not constitution, not his. Give me a second. I was like, wow, he's very constitute.
I bet he's not.
Not. And with a few, he starts to bubble up blood and then twitches once, and he's flailing and will stop, and the strange look in his eyes turns glassy as he dies. Unless any of you take any actions, with the death of Ridley, the other thug is going to basically bolt. Will try to snatch money from you as they go. Lord Bothwell, unless you would like to try and retract your arm or something.
No.
If we can stop him, I want to ask him a couple of
absolutely
short, pointed questions.
How come that dude just killed himself?
Sure. So if he goes to grab the money, then if that's the thing, I won't. It's not you can't have it. It's just a one moment, good man. If you don't mind, we have a couple of questions. Sure. And I will add some money to the, essentially going, you'll get more money if you hold a moment.
Okay. He really. So here, what I see is there's two approaches. You can try and be like, wait, let us talk to you, or you can grab him. And the two are kind of incongruous. If you tackle him, he's not listening about the money anymore. He's being attacked as a dead man here. And if no one's stopping him,
I'm gonna let the money talk first. But if we're not in combat order anymore, it'll be like I will be moving away from the body towards the door, just in case I do need to do a physical stop.
All right. I think what we'll do is I'll get you to make a persuade check then, Lord Bothwell. And if you fail this, he basically decides this is not worth it and just runs. You will be able to get to him, Elias, but you will be a little slow. So when you make your combat maneuver, you will make it with a penalty dice because you hesitated.
Can I rush out and seek a doctor or something? Like, what would be the local, like I run as fast as my little feet can carry me to get help is what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So I bail.
Yeah, so you bail, you go downstairs. I just have one question for you, which will determine, I'll get you to make a dexterity check. Mm-hmm. One question for a regular success or a hard success in terms of getting anyone close with any reasonable amount of time. Are you willing to also get the police involved, or are you trying to do this without? Okay, great. Regular success will be you get people there quickly.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna tell the others that's what I'm doing. As I run, I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna go get help, and then I bolt. So you'll know that they're coming. Schwang.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, fantastic. So you've got somebody coming soon as you dart down onto the street and you begin to shout and yell, tearing up and down the cobblestone streets outside. You stand up, Elias, and the body of Ridley slides forward and flops onto the desk, blood, pouring out across the sheet music around him. Meanwhile, make your persuasion check, please.
Yes, hard success.
Money. He looks, he's heard what Colin yelled, so he kind of holds out his hand and says, one question, keep it quick. Two, what do you need to know? You've got 10, 20 seconds of conversation here, or before he just bolts.
I will, did you have something specific, Elias, that you wanted to ask? Oh, very good. In that case, I will say, sorry, I'm going to crowdsource this very quickly because my brain is just going is there something we want to ask? Like one question we want from this person? Any and everyone. Is there something we want to know?
When did this start, maybe? And did they have... I mean, the big ones, did they have anything to do with it? Because we, at the end of the day, were sourced to find out what happened to Charles, who killed him.
Yes.
So maybe had they ever met, or did they have anything to do with the murder?
Yeah. Or did you ever meet Charles? Like, was Charles under a similar condition?
Yeah, did you ever see him? Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Never met Charles. We got paid once the muscle from the club ran out. They needed us. We just here for money. Let us go.
By all means, my good man. I'll hand him the money and step aside, and we'll just go Daggery, and give him a beeline.
And he will absolutely dart downstairs, where he will be able to just make himself sparse before Colin will return with the police. Downstairs, Lucas, you will be able to gather up all of the papers, and by now you will have heard yelling. You will see the two thugs go. You will get some sense of what has happened. Do you have any ideas here? You have a great deal of the music here. Are you trying to hide some of it? Are you going to bring it up to rejoin with the others? What's your plan?
Definitely stuffing it into my coat. No one else needs to know that I have it, especially not the police if they're going to arrive. If I get the sense that the police and the authorities are coming, I'll have a quick look around and see what occult nonsense I can steal.
All right. Darting back upstairs, you'll rejoin everybody. Do you want to make a quick occult check for me?
Cold spot hidden, or what would give me the spiciest stuff?
I think spot hidden will be general. What is good to pinch here? Occult is you're looking for occult stuff specifically.
Hard success.
Hard success on occult. You were able to determine after darting through all the rooms, Daniel Ridley is not an occultist. He has been drawn in some other way, and after going through the house bit by bit, you will determine there is nothing here that you can see. Maybe there might have been other important things, but soon you will all be coalesced in the room. Colin, you'll be coming back in a second. I really want critically, the music is all on the desk in front of you. What are you doing with that before everybody arrives? Or would you like to run?
Oh, if I've stuffed what I picked up off the ground into my coat, and I'll grab the rest of it off the desk as well.
Okay.
And grab the lot.
You gather it all together?
May I grab a sheet?
Absolutely. Yep, there's plenty. You grab a single sheet, and there's like various copies. It looks like it's been done again and again and again and again, stuff like that. Okay. But before long, unless there's any other action people want to take, Colin is going to return with a whole host of police in hand.
Very good.
In hand.
Oi, oi.
Yeah.
Carrying them.
They're very small. Everyone make
Angels
room.
dancing on the head of a pin. Yeah.
What follows is a whirlwind of rather serious criminal investigation. There is a dead man in a house. You know, Elias, you dived in and tried to help him, and you're now covered in blood.
Yes.
And there is a lot of explanations that need to happen.
Yes, but Lord Bothwell was here, and we can vouch for what occurred.
Exactly. And there's a pretty good chance you all might be able to talk your way out of this. So first of all, I would like anybody who wants to, please you can make a law check if you were trying to sort of argue your way out of this. You can make a credit rating check if you were trying to just kind of delay this down the road. I'm very important. We have to do this through other channels. Let me go home and, get my coat and things like that. If you want to lie or take any action that sort of just de-implicates you, you can make a fast talk check. Anyone who wants to can roll, with the caveat that on a failure, you risk making things worse.
Yeah, no, I'm just telling the truth, basically, and just saying this is what happened. Understand that there are procedures, however, my employer would need to, do that. I don't necessarily want to make a roll.
Sure, that's fine. That's totally fine.
I would have told them that a man was stabbed, and that because the reason I've gotten them is so that hopefully they can save him. That if you get them fast enough, you can run in time. So I've told them that someone's been stabbed. I've not given them any other information beyond that just yet.
Professor Morsville will be difficult. I think he has an inherent distrust of the constabulary.
I'm surprised the professor is still with us and didn't.
Yes, I'm surprised he didn't climb out the window and shimmy down the side of the building.
Oh, if that was an option.
You could have darted away, yes, but that would sort of be that you that's a choice in itself.
No, that'd be like fleeing the scene. I don't want to give them
exactly what it would be.
Yeah, I don't want to give them that chance. But yes, I will be difficult because Professor Morsville has an inherent distrust, so I'm going to go for a credit rating check to get him to leave me alone.
Fantastic. Please make a credit rating check for me.
No.
Okay, so you start to yell at the Victorian police. They're not having any of it, Professor.
I know my rights.
They're sure you do, but they're gonna need to ask you some very serious questions. Meanwhile, Lord Bothwell, the expert here, what is your approach?
So, credit rating essentially makes them defer and go away.
Yeah.
Puts it for later. Would law essentially get a go away? Law right now might actually get you out of the problem, whereas credit rating kind of knock it down the line. I will use law. That said, I just want to say quickly, currently, currently everyone else is in a position that is like neutral or bad. So there's a lot riding on you to kind of help them as well. 50-50 shot. All right.
And is there any way that I can assist that by name dropping my employer and just generally being very helpful and being very gracious and an exemplary individual.
You can, at the risk of directly implicating your employer.
But everybody would know who he is.
Yes, but you evoking his name and having the confidence to do so could risk blowback onto him. It's completely up to you.
I probably wouldn't mention his name then. I would just be being very helpful.
All right, totally.
Being an exemplary assistance.
In which case, you can add a bonus die here as Thackeray uses his position, his associations to try and lend some weight to your arguments. Please go ahead and make your law check. Ooh,
Yes,
Okay.
hard success.
hard success. All right.
Would an extreme get all of us off the hook?
So, and I think an extreme absolutely would be able to, at the very least, it's going to be very strong pushing you out of the situation. Also, the fact that Colin came in and got help is the one who sort of called everybody and did it quick. Now, very quickly, Colin, I know you were trying to get there to save them. He died in the chair, probably while you were still going out the door.
I understand that, but Colin just saw the knife go in, and knife wounds tend to bleed out, so I've just bolted for it. He died in between. That's totally fine.
I completely get it. That said, they were on scene while the blood was still wet, so to speak. So the arrival is
jammed in his frickin' throat.
Yeah. I think an extreme will get you all pretty damn close to off the hook, and then it will definitely mean that you are able to leave this situation now, kind of like you're like sort of.
I know we have a party to attend. We really can't be here.
You may have 10 points of luck
busy.
for an extreme, because that's all I need to spend for that one. So yes, 10 points of luck for an extreme on law. Apparently law comes in handy. Yes, to get us all off the hook. Essentially, it is. I mean, yeah, it's not as much a "do you know who I am" as like, Bothwell is familiar with the law. It's quite possible that was one of the subjects that he studied at Oxford or Cambridge or wherever it was that he went to school. One of the two fancy ones. And is friendly and helpful up until the letter of the law, and if they try and push, he will say something to the effect of, very good question, you will have to, but as is necessary, you would have to speak to my solicitor, and my solicitor will be representing everyone here, of course.
Very excellent. You are able to really, throw your weight around here in a positive way, as you described, as a helpful way, but you are able to get everybody out of that situation as it is. Lucas.
What?
Did you? I thought you were making a sound.
make a very-
No, yeah, I was just making it sound like, oh, that was a close one.
Oh, right. Okay, good.
I thought that
I was
was you
making
refusing
noise,
to cooperate with the
unhelpfully.
police.
Yeah, you're like,
immediately go, it's a bit.
I'm gonna counter sue.
I am a free person.
It's all right.
You don't own me.
I'd also like to, with that kind of success, I'm assuming that we can not give away any significant information outside of, what they need to know for their immediate investigation, and perhaps, just not give anything extra away than we're ready to at this point.
Totally fine. You did very well with that law check, and you're able to do so. Now, before long, you will be able to excuse yourselves, and between this and the between the visit to Ridley in the morning and then the disaster with the police, before you are able to extricate yourselves, it's getting towards evening, and Elias, you're covered in blood. Like this is a disaster. You need to sort of like split.
Yes.
You need to prepare yourselves. You need a minute as you all scatter away. We're gonna. So yes.
I was going to say, I will, for the purposes of, I just cleared all of our names and we probably all need something to drink and a moment to respite. I will offer my townhouse as a place to recover. I do believe one of the staff should have some clothing that might fit you, Thackeray.
Much appreciated.
Mrs. Whitmore should be able to do a quick 1-2 stitching if something doesn't quite sit right on you. Won't be up to your usual tailored standards, but hopefully that will suffice for the moment. Professor, I have ample soda water and quite a fine library. And Fenton, I have food and a fire.
Winner.
All very important. In which case, you'll be able to head over to Lord Bothwell's manor, where you'll be able to reconvene. have any conversations that you need, and make plans, because that evening you do have the approaching production, the dress rehearsal, you have the sinister after party coming, and you now have another body to add to the body count related to the bloody sheets of music that are
Ding.
tucked away amongst the possessions of Lucas Mooresville. We're going to leave the session there. A tiny bit early today, but because I don't want to start the next section of everything, because stuff's about to get real serious real fast. That was the second episode of Loki's Gift. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and thank you to the amazing cast. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Alex. And we will see you all back next week for another episode of the stream. You can also, of course, catch it on YouTube. And as a reminder, we are also streaming some RuneQuest. That is on Mondays at 6 p.m. PDT. We've had the first episode of A New Hero, and you can join us to see that on Twitch or watch it later on YouTube.
Nice.
Thanks, everybody. I think that's about it. Great stuff.
All right.